talked about the focus of the power of people, the
Sure.
power of people together, right? It's that power of one coming together and really having an impact, a positive impact for animals, for pets. And I think you've created some, sort of assumptions around the culture, but also programs there to really help your employees feel engaged and a part of something bigger than themselves to really make a difference. And to me, that's one of the core spirits and definitions of inclusion. Share more with us about that, the creation of that, and what Banfield is doing to really empower people to make a difference, a positive difference for their communities, for the pets around the world or our country.
Sure. Well, strategy without empathy is a wasted idea. And you can create the greatest strategic direction, but if you don't have a culture that supports bringing people together to achieve our purpose, then it doesn't matter. And it was very clear for me to put culture as our top priority. And our culture comes to life through our leaders, and it's about role modeling the behaviors and being clear on what's expected. And when I think about culture, it started off with our inclusion and diversity journey. We were very intentional to stop calling it, D&I and diversity and inclusion, to change that, because it's something that Che even mentioned. I mean, inclusion is a choice. You choose to be inclusive. And when you can bring people into the conversation, it invites people to have the conversation, to understand, to ask questions. And we've seen more of that what's been happening in society around allyship. We now want to move away from allyship. It's about activism. It's about action. Taking action is the most important thing, not talking about things any longer. It's about taking action. So when I think about bringing our culture and bringing our people together, it starts with our equity, inclusion, and diversity journey. It also starts with how do we create true psychological safety where people can have conversation. And in creating a psychological safe space is not easy. And it's not about hearing all the good news. It's about hearing and being part of very, very tough conversations. And the way we can do that is by showing up in very authentic ways to welcome that conversation, to make sure that we understand what people are experiencing and how we can be part of the solution for them. So it's really using empathy to the highest degree possible.
I think it's being purposeful about what you're doing, right? And it seems to just, you just shine when you talk about this. We know it's an intrinsic purpose for you as a leader. So thank you for that. And I would imagine, and just share this, the demographics of your talent within the organization, given that you are really have a strong principle around the intersection of people and community.
Yes.
Has that made a difference around, call it inclusion, call people feeling engaged, call people feeling a part of and belonging? Has that made an impact?
Oh, absolutely. Without question, it has. We have the best retention in the history of our organization. And by focusing on our people and culture, it has opened so many opportunities for our leaders to have better career opportunities. When I joined Banfield, I joined about 5.5 years ago. I was amazed on how purpose-driven this industry is. And it just didn't make sense to me on what our turnover rates were. So many of our associates came to us because they have a love for pets. Yet we were not able to retain the associates to the degree in which I thought was best in class. And it was that curiosity of what's happening, why is it happening, and why are we not able to retain so many of our associates? And that focus on culture has led to not just words on a paper, but true action. This is what we believe, and this is how we will show up. And this is why I'm so proud of our leaders who really have modeled the behavior of listening at scale. I talk a lot about listening at scale. That's about creating the safe conditions to listen at all levels, inside and outside of our organization, understand what's working, what's not working, and how can we make sure that the strategic direction of our company is being decided by our associates, or it's being validated by our associates. This is not a top-down approach. This is a humanity thing. And humanity is about listening and being the right leader for all the people that we have the opportunity to serve.
And a consistent theme in all these interviews is the empathetic leader, the empathetic culture, really listening, which is hard, but listening with intention, And it demonstrates that really caring for people. And then, you know what, that translates into ideation, greater
Absolutely.
problem solving and critical thinking, right? But we've talked about that. But thank you for walking the talk and creating that within your organization as an assumption in terms of how people really work and treat one another. So,
Yes.
and I just had another quick question for you
Sure.
too, is that in terms of your talent pipeline with women, are there a lot of women that come into your organization, and what kind of jobs do they take, and how do you attract and retain them? And any thoughts, any work that you've been doing there?
Yes, well, we do a lot of work on that front. What I think is more important is like really in our corporate office and in our leadership in our field leadership roles. Why I say that, because the veterinary profession is strong in terms of when you look at the demographics, over 80% of graduating veterinarians are women right now. And so to me, it's less about how do we find veterinarians, it's how do we role model careers and opportunities for all women across the organization. Because it's easy to have, say, women come in from the veterinary side, but how do we make sure veterinarians that want to pursue a career in business have opportunities on our business side? How do we make sure from a corporate office we have the proper workforce representation? And one of those ways, I have a bias towards talent, and I have a bias towards action. And I think when you are relentless in finding the best people and building that network, you'll find the best, and those become the best role models. So it's less about, from my standpoint, is what can our organization do? It's what can I do? When I look at my senior leadership team, we have 8 of us on the team. 5 are female, 3 are male. And when I look at that, I'm so excited to have our chief marketing officer, who she can say, I can be not just a mentor, but a sponsor, and put the spotlight on women in executive C-suite roles. And so it's about me walking the talk, but it's about me also making sure that the shadow I'm casting is reflective of the environment and the world that I want. And when we have that, we now have a fantastic team that is built on absolute talent. And we do some mentoring, but it's also about sponsorship. Sponsorship is so important for me, because sponsorship is about the specific person or people you are representing and you are fighting for, versus something that's very vague and saying, oh yeah, I mentor 5 people, and we're not having the conversation. It's clear on, these are the people that I'm at stake for. And that's really more important to me. And as we've been able to do that, from an executive team standpoint, we're very representative of our workforce. And additionally, then it trickles all the way down our organization. And I'm proud of the balance that we have, whether it's gender or just diversity in general.